well. One is, I feel very strongly that we need to return a deputy to our schools. I think we need a school resource officer to serve Big Fork and the other rural schools, at least make appearances there, because the program has worked excellent for Kalispell. I know there's no grant funding out there. I feel strongly that we can get some community support for that, and that definitely needs to be restored. I think that to me is extremely important. I have a pretty broad public safety background, not just strictly in law enforcement. So I feel very strongly that the sheriff ought to be the leader in overall public safety, not just law enforcement. So I think we need to be very proactive in search and rescue, and I think we need somebody dedicated to search and rescue coordination again. So that's something I feel very strongly about as well. There's some innovative programs out there. I don't know if anybody's read the paper. Leo Dutton, who's a good friend of mine, is the sheriff in Lewis and Clark County. Leo currently, with his Justice of the Peaces there, Justice of the Pieces? Oh, that was bad. Anyway, with the JPs there, are looking at a program, or have implemented a program that's been used in the Dakotas successfully, called 24/7 sobriety. And if you're out on bail on a DUI, as a condition of your release, you submit to twice daily breath tests at your expense. If you fail one, your bond is revoked. It has absolutely nothing to do with driving. So I think there are things out there that are innovative and new that I would like to see implemented. We need to keep moving forward. We need to keep joining the computer age. And I could go on for an hour, but you guys don't need to hear that. I just think there are a lot of things that we can do to provide better services for the public.
Anybody else?
I guess it's just kind of a follow-up to a couple things you guys mentioned. As far as existing programs and programs that may have existed before, such as SROs, the Advocacy Center, AET, the task force, any of those types of programs, what changes or improvements did you make?
Okay, I think the AET ought to be run by the Sheriff's Office. I feel strongly about that as well. Not to fault of Montana Highway Patrol. They're great guys. They're traffic cops. That's what their training and expertise is in, and I think the Sheriff's Office ought to be the leader with the AET, and I think that program should be run by the Sheriff's Office. So there's one. I already talked about the SROs. I think we need to get those back. You're talking about existing programs that were in place, or might?
Yeah, or some that may have gone away. I mean, just everything in general. Any kind of programs that you would implement, or programs that you currently have, would you make any changes to them?
Sure. Again, I dedicate somebody to be a coordinator for search and rescue groups, or perhaps even an overall volunteer coordinator to look at coordinating the volunteers. And I know that's in somebody's duties right now, but I think that needs to be a dedicated position. There are, God, I must be getting tired. Well, let me think for just a second and I'll reserve the right to come back and answer another one.
Well, let me address the alcohol enforcement team first. You know, I totally supported that when it was with the Sheriff's Office. I think it's a great program. When that new grant was written, it was restructured. The Highway Patrol, actually, Flathead Valley Chemical Dependency wrote the grant, and I made that decision. I guess I supported and agreed with that decision when it went to the Highway Patrol. We are still very active participants in it, and I don't really see where it has made that big of a difference by letting the Highway Patrol administer that grant. Search and rescue. I made that decision. I know that I looked at the number of searches compared to a deputy. To have a $45,000 deputy obligated or designated directly to that search and rescue, the numbers didn't add up. They truly did not add up. It is the sheriff's responsibility to have jurisdiction over the search and rescue units. Anytime we have a search and rescue mission, myself or Pete Wingert, we usually take 12-hour shifts as the incident commander. We're out there anyway. If we had a designated search and rescue coordinator, you're not going to be able to work the guy only for the first operational period. And that first operational period, depending on when it happens, take for example a lost hunter. You don't get a lost hunter at noon. You get a lost hunter 3 or 4 hours after dark. So more than likely, that individual has been up all day, maybe worked a shift all day or whatever. We still have the coordination. Commander Cook, he goes to the meetings, he monitors the budget, I monitor their budget. We're still coordinating, we still monitor their training. We're going to continue to monitor their training. I have the faith and the confidence in the search leaders to take some of those responsibilities, and I think they've done a great job stepping up to the plate. I cannot justify the number of calls that we have had to putting a full-time search and rescue director in there. I can't do it. Whether you agree with that or not, the numbers aren't there. SRO. I strongly support that program and will continue to support it. Do we have one right now? I have a volunteer, Stu Smith, who has worked in the Evergreen Junior High, volunteered his own time for a lot of, many months in the years past. He just got out of the academy. He's got a couple months until he starts back on the dust patrol, and he's headed back down to the school. He's an excellent SRO. He's been to SRO training in schools. I put him through that. Would I like to have one? Yes. And am I going to pursue to try to get one? Yes. Same way with the diversion officer. I'd like to have a full-time diversion officer. There's a real need for that. But I'm not going to strip patrol for some of these other division positions until I have the resources.
I guess we'll start with SRO because that was the last thing. I think we need to get officers back into the schools. One, it's obviously no secret, I would restructure administration. We would have a couple of positions open up. We're already paying for those positions. There's no reason we can't put them in the schools. If there's grant money available to fund those positions, that just helps us out that much better where we can again put that person back out on the street and then we still have another SRO. If that is not available to us, we have some other options. One, when we do have full shifts, and that does happen on occasion, why don't we have uniform officers go out to the schools and make contact with the teachers, the students, and the parents, and have some proactive, positive contact with these people instead of negative contact. When we go to the schools now, it's because little Billy got in trouble or mom and dad got in trouble and we need to talk to the son or daughter about what happened last night, and it's all revolving around negative activity. Hence, we get the bad rap of we're always mean, bad cops that are always taking somebody away. Why can't we change that image? We have a lot of resources available to us to do that. Why aren't we doing it? As far as the AET, we had a system there that was working really well. Yes, it obviously had some flaws. Those flaws needed to be addressed at the time, fixed, repaired, move on. I don't think we should have turned that over to Highway Patrol. I realized that one of the reasons it was stated was we were getting away from the educational process and looking just more in the enforcement process. Why can't we do that too if that's what the problem is? There is no reason. We had a very effective program. It was a pioneer program, not just across the state or county, but also across the United States, and it was working quite well. It needed some tweaks along the way, there's no doubt. Fix it and continue on. Don't just move it on and move it away and out of our span of control. As far as the SRO program is concerned, Mike touched on the number of calls or reduced down, hence he couldn't justify the program.